Browns at the Vikings. Browns head on the road to the Vikings. This is a very interesting scenario as well, because if you look and even though the record doesn't state it, this Vikings team has Kirk Cousins playing at a pretty high level. Kirk Cousins playing the best maybe he's ever played in his whole career. Browns 2-point favorites, 2.5-point favorites at FanDuel, 1.5 at MGM, 51.5 seems to be the total that we're looking at here. Steven, start with you on this one. Really great run offense so far for the Browns. This is exactly what we expected from this Browns team, being able to control games on the ground. Odell Beckham comes back for the first time in over a year last week and actually looks pretty good. I actually was pretty impressed with what I saw out of Odell Beckham last week. Still looked pretty impressive from an explosive standpoint. Baker had no problem throwing his way, instantly steps in, leads the team in targets, and was out there on the field a lot of the time as well. And then, like I said, if you look on the Vikings side of things, Kirk Cousins has been phenomenal so far this year. And they have a couple of very unfortunate incidents that have gone to keep this team from being, 3-0 for sure. And so I think this would look a little bit different if the record was different there for the Vikings, but it is a different matchup here as the Browns head to town.
Encouraging usage for Odell Beckham, too, in his first game. It's only been one game, but he now leads the league in air yards per game. So they're going to be aggressive with him, it seems like, with Jarvis Landry still out. It won't be a lot of the underneath stuff. And, he looks solid. So Matt, to me, this is a bellwether game for the Browns. This is an interesting spot. You and I both have Super Bowl futures on the Browns. Mm-hmm. How good are they? I think this week's going to go a long way for telling us a little bit about that. It's interesting to me that this spread is exactly the same as it was last week when Seattle came to town and played the Vikings. So I'm not sure that the Browns are rated properly here, given the flaws with Seattle, but I also think that it's too close and there's not much of an edge for me to play either side here. The Vikings have looked good. Their 2 losses are by 4 points combined, and they should have won one of those if their kicker didn't miss a field goal. So this to me is a game I'm going to enjoy watching, but I'm not necessarily betting.
Brad, I actually have a ticket in here on the Browns at 1.5. This is as good as the offenses look for the Vikings so far. This is a different animal that's coming into town this week in this Cleveland Browns defensive line that has been able to go in and really just wreck shop so far this season. They've really been able to get in pressure. We've seen every bit of that. We've seen that talent that we knew was there really shine through so far for this team. I think the defensive scheme has worked out pretty well for them. And I do understand that Minnesota is got a 2-headed monster there. They've got Thielen and Jefferson. I understand that the KJ Osborne has come on for them. It looks like they figured out what they're going to do at the tight end position. I get all of that. I just think whenever we look at this, and Steven brings up that, you're getting a Seattle team that was, basically rated the same coming in as this Cleveland team. And I have Cleveland way, way, way above Seattle in my power ratings and where they belong in the grand scheme and pecking order of things. The deal is Cleveland's never going to win games flashy. That's just not who they are. That's not this type of team. It's going to always feel a little uneasy when you're back in the Browns because they just play defense and they run the ball a ton and they're not really that flashy, splashy type. They play slow, they aren't running up there with no huddle all the time. I mean, there's just a bunch of things that aren't really appealing whenever you put in a bet on the Browns. But at the end of the day, I think the way that they play football doesn't match up incredibly great here with this Vikings team. So I took that point. I laid the 1.5 with the Browns. I feel pretty good about it. What say you about this game?
Yes, I've not bet it. I came at it a slightly different angle. I see things broadly similar to you. I think the Vikings offensive line is going to be the issue here. So 22nd in pass block win rate, and obviously in comes Jadeveon Clowney, Myles Garrett, and I think Kirk is going to find it a little bit different, as you say, than he has the last few weeks with those two in his face all game. But I also think the Minnesota defense is probably better than it looks. So they're 25th in DVOA through 3 games, but they played the 3rd hardest schedule. The Seahawks, the Cardinals they played, the Bengals, who are a solid offense as well. So they're also getting a little bit healthier with Danielle Hunter back. He was back last week as well. But so I think the Vikings defense is underrated. I'm not sure the Vikings offense is moving it. So that pushes me towards the under. Again, with Cleveland, they do run the ball, they do play slow, and this is a 51.5 total. And totals in the NFL, they're going under like 55% or so far this year. Penalties up slightly, maybe crowd noise having a little part to play there. And these high totals have been going under more often than not in recent weeks. So I thought that was worth a look.
Yeah, I like that angle really as well. I mean, you look at both of these teams, situation neutral pace, the Browns 26th in the league and the Vikings 25th in the league, right? They're not trying, these teams are not trying to run up there and rattle plays off left and right. So they're definitely one of the teams that are more deliberate with the way they want to play. And of course, we know the Vikings have been forced into passing the ball, I think, a little bit more than they want to. But we know with Dalvin Cook and now with Alexander Mattison, they really do want to run the ball as well. So I definitely like that angle for sure.